survive, thrive, stay alive. It's time to get prepared with the Prepping Academy podcast.
All right. I didn't even want to say that. That's from what's that guy, the actor that says that? All right.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Hey everyone, welcome to the Prepping Academy. I am Forrest. We got Uncle Buck on the line with us here. Hello. This is our fourth show. It's going fast. I mean,
it is.
I am surprised that Spotify hasn't called us yet.
I know. They're like,
I mean,
Forrest is a new Joe Rogan.
No. We. I mean, they're literally must have their lawyers putting the paperwork together.
I think so
for the offer.
I think so.
Now that gosh, that should come anytime now. So, and we'll split it. 70-30. I mean, okay, I'm kidding. Hey guys. Again, we are the Prepping Academy. Subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. That helps with the algorithm. People, give us a like if you're on YouTube watching. So we are on YouTube. If y'all want to watch us, our goofy little selves, or you can just listen to us on the podcast. It doesn't matter. Just take our information and change the world. Right.
Agreed. There's no fee for listening, right? I mean, it's all It's free content for you to absorb to get better and raise your game. So the fee, I guess, is to just to pay it forward, like it, share it, tell your friends about it.
Yeah. Oh, we were going to come up with a tagline. Have you thought through that yet? No.
No, not yet. We'll come up with something. Something catchy. Maybe we throw that out to the Preppernet meeting and see. Maybe we just get too many responses back. That's a bad idea.
You didn't like mine. You didn't like mine. Survive, don't die.
Straight to the point.
Okay, maybe that's not our tagline. Survive, don't die. Okay.
So let's get into. Well, we'll talk a little bit about the preparedness training plans, but we'll get into the topic here. I think we were talking about. I don't even know if we talked about this online. I think it was offline about how some members of the Preppernet thought I was a Fed. I was part of the FBI.
Yes.
and she's laughing in the background right now, but I'm not. For the record, I'm not, despite kind of probably looking like it at times, but I'm not. I did apply for it, and I went through the process. I think I was telling you guys about that, and this is when I was in Seattle, and went through there's a phase 1 and a phase 2, and I went through the phase 1 process, and was going to investigate white collar crimes and all that fun jazz, and made it through, qualified for the first process, and then I got a good opportunity back in North Carolina that I departed, and it was too good of an opportunity to pass up. So I moved back to North Carolina, and then I never heard from them ever again. They just vanished.
Well, I'm going to bring something up that is kind of, I was investigated by the FBI once.
Oh, really?
Oh, the SEC, the FBI, IRS, all of them. Yeah. I mean, it's passed. They found absolutely nothing, but in one of my companies, I took an investment from someone outside of our country, from Canada, and he had some dirty money, and they were just following the money trail. And they all came. I talk about that on a I don't know where. I don't think I've ever talked about it on a podcast, but it was tough going there for a while. But I was clean as a whistle. That's good, clean living is what they say.
That's good. It's good. Real good.
So
as we get ready to jump into the preparedness training plan, one of the things that came up was, heritage life skills. So I went to that last year. I thought it was awesome. That was great. And so for those that don't know, heritage life skills, it's essentially, I think about a 3-day camp, and you essentially just skill up. You get to learn, and you get to meet a lot of different folks. You get a lot of good training, a lot of good content, and it just kind of broadens and expands your horizons on preparedness. So I don't know, like, was there, I heard it's not going to be happening this year.
No.
Is that confirmed?
That is confirmed. Yep.
Dang, that's too bad.
But I want you to know that I do have a little sheet here beside my note sheet. Every time you say these nice little cute words, that I'm like, gosh, I wish I could use that word in my vocabulary. It's all these military words. See, I was in the military like 30 years ago. It's a long time ago. Skill up. I'm like, yeah, that's a good. And I'm writing them all down. All these little words that you use. And so I'll get them in my. But that was skill up. So I got one down for tonight.
All good. On to tonight's show as this long intro. Preparedness training plans, right? Like, how do you go about somebody new to the game, somebody that's been doing this? We talked about goals. We talked about setting your targets for the year. We talked about mindset, and now it's putting together your training plan, the approach to be putting that training plan together, and like resources, thought process, and setting that up. Obviously there's budgetary constraints there, there's time constraints and all that stuff to balance out. But like, what are some of your thoughts around getting a plan together and then executing on that plan over a period of time?
So the Prepping Academy podcast started, I think, in 2016 with the very notion of helping people, especially new preppers, to put together a plan and then execute it. And so if you would go back in the archives of the Prepping Academy podcast to show number 1, it was called Preparedness 101. Then the second show was Preparedness like 102. And from the shows, the first, I think I stopped at like 4, from that came this book. That's the reason I wrote this book, is because show number 1 is literally like 2 chapters in this book. Show number 2 is like another 2 or 3 chapters in this book. And so all my friends and everyone coming to, at that time it's called Carolina Prepper Network, they were like, what do I need to do? What do I do? And so that's why I went through it in the show and I put it in the book. And I mean, I'm not trying to self-promote, but hey, it is. I told you beforehand, it is. I mean, that's exactly what people, beginning preppers, need, because it goes through the first 2 months of what you need to buy. I mean, I tell you literally what to buy. Not only, you need a flashlight. I give you the flashlight that I've bought 50 flashlights in my life. The one I like the most, it's going to serve you the best. What to buy, what to learn, and what to read or study or to watch for mindset. So it's buy, skills, and mindset. And it puts you on a year plan. And again, but it's the only thing I've seen. The other thing, I even asked Preppernet Beth, I mean, she bought this calendar and that kind of takes you through the same thing. And she said she actually literally has never used it. So other than that, I've not seen many out there, but I mean, it's simple to put yours together. But the thing is, if you're starting, do not just go and buy stuff. I bought, and a good example is this. My first few years of prepping, I was buying a company, and I don't mind mentioning it because if you screw people over, it was called Wise Food. And Wise Food ended up getting sued by the federal government and lost because they were not sharing the right information. I was buying it like it was the best thing ever. I didn't know better. Later on, I did research and found out better products. And so, but if you're starting new, I would definitely say, find someone that's been doing this, find a military person, find someone that has tried these products or even online. And don't waste your money. But
so I'm so the book that Forrest was mentioning was called the Preparedness Roadmap. So it's the Prepper Roadmap or the Preparedness Roadmap?
The Preparedness Roadmap. Yes.
Preparedness Roadmap. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes. So if you're interested in it, please have a look at it, particularly if you're new in the preparedness. There's a lot of wisdom that you get out of this. And you guys know my preparedness game, like I'm fast tracking it, but like there's so much stuff that I'm like, I don't know. Right. I'm learning, I'm growing, and I'm kind of putting myself out there. But I went with the approach that you said, don't go. Right. I'm going out there. I'm like, I need this. And, 2 is 1 is none. I need 2 of this. I need 2 of that. I need these things. And I'm like, I just got to get down to like, what are some of the foundational items that you need to have, and then ultimately you need to train for. So in the constraints that you got on there is time and money, right? You have time, money. Mm-hmm. It's a constraint on pretty much anything you do or buy. Right. But as far as like that book, like where my mind goes and how I would like to approach it differently, and I didn't, right? It was just like, let me stop, investigate, meet with a lot of folks, and just get a current viewpoint of what are all the categories even within preparedness, and then kind of break those categories down a little bit for like, what is the buffet of things that I should be doing from a preparedness standpoint? And then like, how do I start like picking those things? But I just kind of went dove head first, like the complete, jarhead, just jumped right in and started going. But from your training plan and setting up, like I need to upskill or I need to get certain tools, like what do you recommend folks jumping off with that first, 90 days, right? Where do you think they need to upskill or what they need to procure or what group they need to be a part of or what they need to listen to or watch just to get them in the right frame of mind?
I would say the most important thing is a beginner prepper or someone that's just starting. Don't even call yourself a prepper. Just for your family's sake, go look at your pantry, see the food that you eat every single day, every single week, and buy double. And then buy triple. So if you feed your kids macaroni and cheese and you usually have 5 boxes on the shelf, get 20. And that is, I call that food insurance. When the pandemic hit, I put all over social media and called all my friends and said, go to the grocery store now and double, triple, quadruple your pantry. And thank goodness, a lot of my friends, I guess at this point, they trust me. They go, okay, I don't know why he's telling me to do this, but I'm going to go do it. And they did it. And then, 2 months into it, they're going, oh, that way I don't have to go to the grocery store now. And, they were rationing grocery stores, so many people coming in, and there was this one video where a cough goes over an aisle and affects the other person and stuff. Mm-hmm. But but food insurance you running out of food is one of the most likely events that would happen in your life. Getting hit by a hurricane and you're in Iowa, that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So why would you prepare for it? So you want to prepare for the things that to build your list or your skills. Where do I live? What are the seasons I have, in my area? But the thing about food and water, you can live without having a pocket knife your entire life. You can live without having, a shotgun, but you cannot live without food and water. So everything starts with food and water.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's a great jump off point. Because what I see, and right, I fell victim to it as well, is like you're trying to get gizmos, gadget, you know what I mean? Like the gizmo-y gadget stuff. And you're like, well, is this realistic? Right. So I think it's stepping back from, you go to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like if you get into like the hierarchy of needs where I need air, I need food, I need water, right? I need basic security. That's the fundamentals that I need. And then you can start building on. Then you get into the comms, you get into logistics, you get into perimeter security and all that fun stuff. But you can't do any of that stuff if you're not well fed and you have water in your body.
if you don't have some skills, like if you don't know how to purify water, if you know, there's skills you need, food and basic tools you need, but you don't need to be spending and going, hey, I need to go get my ham license or my amateur radio license. And you don't have some of the basics set. So I would say when you're building your plan, start with the basics, food. A lot of it's things you buy, but a lot of it's things you got to think through. But there's food, water, maybe some medical supplies, some extra, a lot of doctors now will prescribe more than 30 days of meds. They'll do up to 90 days. And if you can't get more than 90 days, there are ways around that. And you get your meds, you get all other thing you need to survive or to live off of. And you just list the stuff. A spreadsheet, great way to do it. Just list it in there. And then when you want to do comms, that's it. I mean, we're still a year away before learning comms. There's so many things to do. I would say like buy a handgun would be this day and age, maybe within the second or third month, and then getting training on that for sure. But you just go through and put the priority levels. And here's the thing, you don't have to do this yourself. You don't have to just go to like a PrepperNet event or someone that has get involved in certs. You learn so much being a part of certs and you can ask people, hey, I'm just new at this. I was thinking about getting a handgun or I was thinking about getting an AR-15, and the person that kind of knows what they're doing. They go, well, do you have a handgun? And they go, no. Well, maybe you need to buy a handgun before you go out and buy an AR-15, and people don't think about that. Mm-hmm. And so, but there is a progression, and anytime you can get wise counsel, it saves you money. I told you I bought a $329 water filter that a $19 one from Walmart does the exact same thing. And so,
Sawyer, was it a Sawyer?
A Sawyer's I bought a Canadyne. It's a pump, and stainless steel, had these all this stuff. It was $329 where I could have bought a Sawyer water filter because I didn't know better. Mm-hmm. I wasted $300 on that water filter. I could have bought 20.
I could probably go through the same stuff of mistakes that I've made in just this past 18 months and stuff that I'm like, did I really need that? Should I really just focus down on food, or you talk MREs, meals ready to eat. And for those, Forrest mentioned CERT, that's called Certified Emergency Response Team. If you Google search that, you'll find these groups that it's I guess civilian run, right? Like it's the community run, and there's typically like a manager or a lead person there. And effectively they do monthly meetings, they get together and you learn about bug out bags, and you learn about kind of bushcraft stuff. And if a crazy event happened in your area, like how do you guys swarm together and help other people out? Really good. I've attended some of them in Carolina and North Carolina as well.
They're free.
And they're free. They're free.
Yes. And so I would say this as well. And I want to hammer this because you have limited funds. Most of us have limited funds. So you want to make sure you spend your money wisely as you gather the tools that you need. Doubling and tripling your pantry and getting meds and Band-Aids and prescriptions, and no adult supervision is needed there. Just do that. But when you start buying, a $500 handgun or some survival food, almost like don't do any of it until you have someone, or you talk to someone online, because, we're in the internet age, and they know what they're talking about, and then they can give you wise counsel. Then spend your money.
Okay. So as you get through that first 90 days of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, getting your food, doubling, tripling, quadrupling your pantry, canned goods, rice, like stuff that doesn't expire in a week, right?
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper. Yeah. It's a big one, right? Make sure you don't run out of that as well. So you do that first 90 days. And then as you start going in to we want to start talking training, that next kind of thing to buy and then begin training on it, like what would you recommend? Maybe that next 90-day window. I'm not sure, like 90 days or 2 months or whatever the frequency is. Like, what would you recommend that person do then?
Well, I would probably power or heat source, depending on where you live, like they're called little buddy heaters with some propane tanks, because when it gets cold, you got to think about disasters or events that are going to happen in your area that could really impact your family. And like I said, if you're in Iowa, you could care less about hurricanes. If you're in Canada, I don't think tornadoes happen in Canada, but I don't know. But what happens in your area? If you're in Florida, wow. There's a lot of things that you need to prepare for. And so if power goes out, what do you need to? So here's the thing, the way I always look at this, just kind of a side note. You've got time and you got money right now, at least a little bit of extra money. So when things happen, don't just barely survive. Get trained enough that you thrive through it. So when the power goes off, all of a sudden you're not cold. You have a heater, you have a little battery backup or a generator, and your family's watching movies, and your kids are like, wow, this is fun. Mm-hmm. That is what being prepared is. It's not everyone going in around and getting in a blanket and shivering in a closet just to stay alive. You want to thrive through this, especially have kids, because you don't want, some of these events to be very traumatic, long lasting, events for them.
Yeah. So like if you look at like a PACE plan, right? Like, so your primary, alternative, contingent, emergency.
Oh, PACE. I gotta write that down.
And you apply that. You apply. It's literally it's how you would function in your house, right? Mm-hmm. Stuff that you got to do in your house. You got to cook food, right? That's what you got to do. You make up food. If you lose power, your primary is I got power and everything's good and I can go cook. I turn on the stove, you microwave, whatever what have you. Your alternative, if power goes out. So what do you do then? Like, okay, do you have a propane gas stove, with a propane tank or a backup as well? Do you have one of those small burners? Do you know how to use it? So that's where your training plan would come into play. Your contingent plan there, if those fail, maybe you cook on an open fire, an open flame somewhere in the backyard, on bricks, on rocks, whatever that happens to be. The solar stove, another great option as well. Last is probably, it could be solar. It could be eating raw stuff that you can eat raw too, right? That's kind of like your emergency break glass. Oh my God, I got to get food in my body. That's my only resource that I could use. So that's kind of how the PACE plan works. And that's where my mind goes on it. Like, how would I continue to operate in the household if we lost power? That's a common, that happens, right? It just happened here in North Carolina, right? During the storm, when people lost power. Buffalo, we talked about Buffalo as well, folks losing power there. And then just basic necessities, right? Like other things that you need to do to like operate your day, and what means and what methods you're training, and how to use certain things. What do you have in place in the event that something like that occurs?
And then expand that out. Okay, at home, we've got some power. I got backup heat. We got some food. We could survive here for 60 days with food. We got water, because the pump may go out if the power goes. We can't pump our water, or the city may shut their water, or my pipes may freeze, whatever it may be. So once you got home taken care of, and you got we'll say 60 days. I think that's BeReady.gov says 30. I think do 60. Do whatever the government says doubled kind of thing. Do 60. But then think, okay, I drive places, and we're going on vacation at Christmas, up to Boston. It may snow. So then put together food in your trunk, canned food or whatever, some snacks for the kids, some bottled water in there, and go. And one of the craziest things is this thing called a space blanket. And people call it a survival blanket. That thing has saved so many lives around the world. It is crazy, from people getting in hypothermia and dying. It's the thin little, it's like,
yeah.
It's like
I've never heard it called a space blanket. I've got a bunch of them. You get them like in a 4-pack, and they're I mean, they almost could slide in your wallet almost.
And if you hold them wrong, you could tear them. I mean, they're just cheap as could be, but that little thing has saved so many lives of people wrapping. People coming, even in Texas, you see all these people with the blankets. That's because they're cheap, but man, what it does, it reflects your body temperature back, and you won't freeze, keeps you warm. And so, I mean, have some of them in the car so you can. If you just sit and go, okay, we're driving to Boston and the car breaks down, no one around. What do we need to survive? We need food. We need water. Maybe we need to get some kind of a, heater for the car, because like a little buddy heater, it could literally work in the car and keep you alive. And the little propane, which propane is very safe to transport. And you just think through that. And all of a sudden now you have a little car kit. And then here's the biggest thing. Your friends see that in your trunk and they go, what are you, crazy? Why do you carry this in your car? You've got to have the mindset to take that punishment from them, going, hey, listen, I'm sorry that you don't think things can happen, but as for me and my family, I got to take care of my family. Because a lot of people, they get discouraged because people go, oh, you'll never get lost, or you're never break down in snow. And they start making you doubt, but you got to stay strong and go, listen, I'm in charge. I could be in situations, and I want to make sure that my family survives and thrives through that situation.
Yep. There's like, I don't even care what folks think anymore on this stuff, right? Like, I'm handling business, and that's just the way it is.
Right.
If you got a problem with it, or if something, not you specifically, but if somebody's got a problem with it, that's not on me. That's on them. But
you had to get through that mindset.
Yeah. You got to push through that.
Some people, it affects them when they go, they keep inside that they prepare it all, because they don't want people to think they're freaks.
But it's great. Like, there's folks that I've had to help out, just having those little portable battery packs, like solar powered battery packs. And just being able to go out there and plug some stuff in, because they forgot their charger. They weren't prepared, right? They just missed stuff, and I'm out and about, and just get you have the tools that you need. I mean, I carry I carry a hatchet, an axe, a machete, a small saw, right? It's always in my vehicle, like
just on your body at all times, right?
It's on my body, it's on my back. I got it. It's on my pant leg. That's how I do it. I just rattling left and right when I walk into a room. But no, just keep that stuff, right? I got tired of having a tarp on there as well. Like, always have a tarp, because that thing is multi-purpose. We've seen going through some of those training sessions here with the bug out camps and all that. It's multi-purposes that you can use a tarp. So as far as like getting into the training though, like, folks get their stuff, right? You get the home operation set up. In the event something goes wrong, I got food and water, my bases are covered. Then you get into, potentially firearms, something like that. Then you want to get training, right? Like, so there's concealed carry training there. I mean, there's a boatload of different places that you can go to get any kind of training. And this is not like being Rambo, tactical guy or gal. Like, it's just, how do you draw? How do you present? What are some of the basic rules and functions of a pistol? You don't need to get crazy with it and rolling around in the dirt going crazy.
Right. I would suggest if meeting you, the listener, right now, and you don't have any firearms, I would suggest calling a local gun store and signing up for a maybe a handgun. It's NRA officer class called Handgun 1, I think, or something. And take the class, and you'll shoot some, and they'll let you rent a gun. And don't buy one yet, because you could buy a gun and it just not fit your hand.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't fit right, or you're not able to slide, the rack the slide, or there's could be some issues. And the gun shop owner, it's to his benefit to make sure he properly provides the right tool that you need. If you're going to carry it in your pocketbook or whatever, they have the knowledge to tell you, hey, if you want to do this and this and this with it, these are the guns, and then you pick them up and they'll let you shoot them. But I would not buy a gun on someone else's recommendation, because again, I had a Springfield XD. It shot wonderful, but when I got the smaller one to carry as a carrying conceal, I hated it. Worst gun I ever had. It's a great gun. It just didn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of going out and paying $500, $600, $700 on something from a recommendation, go shoot them. They'll let you rent them and take a class. And then I would definitely get your carrying conceal permit. They're anywhere between $60 and $90, and you learn the law. You learn. I mean, they test you on just if you could just shoot a target, about
7 yards or 5 yards or whatever it is.
Yeah, but I will say this, and there could be hate. Everyone needs a handgun.
100%.
You need a handgun. You need to work it so that you're not afraid to carry it every day. It took me 5 months of carrying my gun before I even loaded it.
Same. I was the same before you had a round in the chamber.
Yes.
Same.
Yes.
Same.
Yes. And so I would, so that's how you go through your training approach is, go to professionals. There's survival schools. There's prepping schools. There's prepping events all over the United States. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's how I would approach it though. But here's the thing. Again, I do want to harp on it. Use people that have knowledge, especially in the preparedness industry. There's a lot of people that will give you the information and help you for free, because that is our desire, is to help others. Then others you have to pay for. And when you pay, trust me, it's worth. I won't say no one, not many people make a living from training people. And that's the only thing they do, because there's not a lot of money in doing it.
Yep.
A lot of it's done for the heart and just helping others.
Yeah. So we go through this. I'm just kind of stepping through the book here for this first year, because it's awesome stuff. Food, you get the water, mm-hmm. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Maybe some space heaters, something like that to warm, depending upon where you live. Obviously, it's all that assessment based on your surrounding. As you mentioned earlier, a pistol, and then some training. Like, where would you recommend for somebody to pick up and start procure and then train with? What would be next, kind of down the road, or this next evolution?
Well, you know where I'm going on this. You got to have a group of people. You've got to have groups of people of like-minded, so that as you're looking to buy that sleeping bag, hey, what sleeping bag did you get? And you can bounce things around. So you need, if you, I hope people aren't doing this. I hope people aren't so disconnected from others that they're just doing all the research themselves and they're buying the product. Get into a group. That's why we have Preparedness. You can go to meetings in 100 cities nationwide, and you meet like-minded people in your community, and you become friends with them, and they go camping and go, wow, I sure like, I'll just say this, Preparedness Patty which is listening to us in the green room. She went camping in like car camping, and she froze to death because she thought she had the right gear. Then she went to this survival thing and she froze to death twice. And I'm like, are you not learning? And then finally she started asking, what equipment do you got? What do you wear? I mean, what is this? And then all of a sudden she was getting educated by asking people. And then finally she listened to me and bought some really good stuff, and others. But yeah, so that's why you need community.
Yep.
You're not the only person in your area that's thinking the same and it's going through what you're going through.
So there's I know Preppernet and meeting other folks, like what particularly around in the neighborhood, right? It's kind of a weird conversation. Like how do you approach somebody, your neighbor, the folks that live down the street from you, whatever, about I want to start setting up like kind of neighborhood watch community, but with that preparedness lens to it, with and maybe this is my own internal narrative, right? Like I'm thinking like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to talk to the neighbor a couple houses down, and we're going to talk about preparedness. And do they have all these things? And they're like, dude, you're like wearing a gas mask, like grilling out your back porch, doing weird stuff. Like what is going on here? Like, so how is that introduced to that person that might just have their blinders on? Like, how do you go about even having that conversation and bringing it up?
So I put a white shirt on with a black tie and a name tag and ride a bicycle to their house. I'm kidding. You don't like no Mormons. No, I'm just kidding on that. That's a joke. So a real story in my neighborhood. Hurricane came through. I have a generator. Oh, so everyone, I guess you can call it a neighborhood. In our area, we're on well water. And that means you can't get water when the power's out. You can't flush your toilets, nothing. So the first time power went out, I have a whole house generator. I cranked that sucker on. I didn't, no noise suppressors or anything. And the whole neighborhood's hearing my generator going, brr, brr, you know, just making this noise. And I walk out to the road because I saw a couple of guys talking out there. And we walk out there and I say, hey guys, what's going on? They're like, you got a generator? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's for my whole house. I mean, I have water. My fridge is working. You know, everything's going good. And they're like, wow. And they go, and I said, oh, by the way, if y'all need to use the bathroom or take a shower or need water, come on in my house and use it. It's free. And they're like, wow. And they did. Some of them were coming to get water and things. And they're like, wow, that's amazing. And I look at my generator and I said, listen, my generator takes natural gas, which is hooked up to, it takes propane, and it takes gasoline. It takes all three. And of the 5 guys out there, 4 of them go, well, gosh, I've got extra gas if you need it. Or if, I was on natural gas, so I wasn't going to run out, but I didn't want to tell them. The natural gas still kind of runs. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy some gas. So if this happens again, we can, we'll support you and what you're doing. And it's funny, 3 months later, power went out. I went out, cranked the generator up. I just go to my garage and I'll go outside and I hear like 2 other generators now in the neighborhood.
They learned.
And 2 of my neighbors bought a generator. And then I went over and spent time with both of them. I'm like, okay, here's what you can put on your generator. Just run the extension cords in your house and do this, this, and this, and this. And then now every one of my neighbors have generators with gasoline and with the propane back as well. And they all have that. And so that's how I started in my neighborhood, that everyone kind of started thinking like a, preparedness mindset.
So it was an event that triggered the conversation, right?
Yes.
That's what occurred. So,
create your own event. Cut the power out.
Drop a tree on the power line. I've had to have neighbors, that we connect with here, and they've asked, like, kind of, they know my background, right? And they're like, what is going on in the world, right? I'm getting these questions, right? And this is a couple of neighbors, and they're like, I'm like, well, where do we start? Like, I mean, that's a long answer to a very short question. But that just by them going through and asking that question, I'm like, they're thinking, they feel something's off, right? They got that sense like, hey, something's not right. I need to maybe inquire and do something. They might not know what it is, but at least they're asking the right questions now. So I found that here. And I've shared some information on them, and I've invited folks here to Preparedness as well. So that's kind of been, and it's swung and a miss, and they didn't go. But so folks go through this process, right? And you start developing your community group. I mean, what else would you recommend folks do, like as far as prepper initiation for that first year? Like what else would they need to do and train on for that first 12 months, 18 months, whatever, what have you?
So here's another thing I did to kind of get them sealed into the preparedness mindset. We're in North Carolina, and our gas line, our pipelines come from Texas. And in the last, you haven't been here probably long enough, but we've had 2 times when that gas pipe was shut down, and we actually had gas shortages on the East Coast. One time we were actually at prepper camp, and people were scrambling because the pipeline was down. It wasn't going to be back up. I think it blew up. The pipeline blew up at that time. And so when something like that happens, like it happened, I know about a year ago, I forgot what happened. Oh, it's flooding. When Katrina happened, man, gas was major shortage here because it's piped up through. But what happened is when there was another shortage that happened, I texted all my neighbors and I said, hey guys, I just heard this event happened. I would go get gasoline before it becomes a big thing.
100%.
And they go, what? Oh, they know the event happened, but they didn't think through, there's going to have problems. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing them in the, hey man, thanks for letting me know. Yeah, we've got all our cars filled up. And now they're not fighting and waiting in line. And they are literally preppers at this point. You know what I mean?
Yep. There's the action, and then the reaction that comes later, right? And some folks, it takes them a while to spin up. So we got kind of a rule in our household, like our tanks don't go below 3/4 of a tank, right? I mean, you got to go to the gas station a lot more often. But when we had incidents, what was it? Colonial Pipeline. Remember when that went down? They got a cybersecurity attack. That's definitely a major threat in our landscape today.
Yep.
That was a year ago, right? A year and a half ago.
I didn't know if you were here during that, but not only were you here, you remember the event. I couldn't even remember. Yep.
Yeah. And so there was runs on gas. We were out, couldn't get stuff in. And essentially the cybersecurity or threat actors just held the company for ransom, and they had to pay before gas would be released again. So and
that can happen anytime.
That can happen anytime. I mean, yeah, it's wild. So like having a full tank of gas or 3/4 tank of gas, you're not stressed about getting to the store. You're just not stressed about it. Like you're good. You're covered.
And people don't know this, but gas, there's additives. So you can get like 5 or 6 gallon gas tanks. Mine are 6. I don't know why, but most of them are like 5 gallons. You can fill it with gas. You can put this additive in the gasoline.
Stable, right? It's called Stable?
Stable's one of them. It's decent, but there's one that it costs more and it's better. It's called PRI. There's PRI-G for gasoline and PRI-D for diesel. And if you read the instructions, you can literally store gas for a couple years. It's that good.
Oh, wow.
And you store the gas, put it in your garage, 6 gallons. I mean, most tanks in a car is 20 gallons, 15 to 20 gallons, roughly. So 3 6-gallon gas tanks, put the stabilizer in there. Don't open them. I mean, they'll expand in the summertime. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to blow up. Don't touch it. And then in the wintertime, it gets cold because the water gets cold and it will look like it's kind of crushing in. The oxygen kills gasoline. So don't do anything to them. Just let them stay. And then all of a sudden in your garage, you have a whole gallon. You could fill your car up from empty and go and get out of town, do whatever you need to do.
You run your generator if you need to as well.
Absolutely. And so I'm going to gosh, I hate doing this, but in my book, like the first month, I literally have things and I'm going to just read them as fast as I can.
Yeah. This is great.
And then it kind of give people an idea and of kind of what to do the first month is the first thing I put, double your pantry. Then, buy a magnesium fire rod.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A Sawyer water filter, a tub water storage bag. They call them Bob. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. I've got one of those.
Pool shock.
Yep.
That you can purify any water with pool shock. Buy 5 MREs per person, trash bags. A book called the SAS Survival Guide, flashlight, batteries, Leatherman. And then I go to train, learn how to start the fire with your fire rod, learn how to purify water, start putting some documents together, like your important your marriage certificate, your life insurance, things like that, because that's important. And I just go through there every month of what you need to buy and what you need to learn and books you need to read. Again, if you can't afford it, just call me and I'll send you one. But I mean, they are on Amazon, but just that's how I educated my friends or help my friends kind of get started. But it's the great thing is, well, this is a great thing to some people, but when you get into preparedness, few things become secret. Also your friends change because some of your friends just call you loony, and you want to hang out with people who you can learn from and people that want to take care of their family and be ready for things. So your friends change. It does cost money. It's not free. I wish it was free, but you learn so many skills. And like anything, if you don't plan to succeed, you automatically by default plan to fail.
100%.
And that's why you need a plan. And the best way is like my book or going to someone that's already been through this. They've been prepping for 3-4 years and ask and let them help you.
It's
and they're out there.
Yeah. It's like American Heritage Girls or Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, stuff like that. But this is more advanced for adults, right? Because ultimately you got to protect and provide for your family and making sure that you have plans in place in the event something does go. I mean, then you start getting into scenario playing, and that's like a 15-hour podcast. I mean, you could go on forever. What scenarios occur? What would you need to do? And that's always dynamic situations as well. If there's a threat, there's not a threat. You can go on and on, but like some of the basics that Forrest mentioned, so just to recap, food, water, your top 2 things. So those are the things you need to do. You need to be able to strike a fire, start a fire. If you can afford a alternative heating source or an energy source, a propane, gas, propane or gas generator. Great. They're solar powered out there as well. A little bit more on the expensive side, but there's a great alternatives at getting into firearms and getting some training behind that as well. I think these are all like just great jumping off points. You mentioned the Sawyer water filter, which is like, we have those. I actually got for Christmas. This is it. Like I got I got two daughters, and I got them bug out bags like that.
Oh,
nice. I got them bug out bags. So Primary Arms had a sale on these. They're small little bags, but they're good for little, smaller kids. So I picked that up. First thing I got, Sawyer water filter. I mean, that was in there. They got a compass. They got a Leatherman, and what else did I put? Some a small little survival blankets. They got the 550 cord bracelet with the compass and the whistle on it. So like just started putting all those things together.
Handgun. Yep.
Yeah. Handgun. AK-47. They got the AK-47.
Yeah.
But just trying to get them going on that as well, and just get them to think about that stuff, maintain good situational awareness, and then bring them along in the training pipeline, right? So we're got a lot of stuff that I want to train and get better on and practice. And so getting kids involved in that process it'll go a long way, right? I know there's challenges here within some of the folks in the PrepperNet community where one spouse is all about it and the other spouse is not. And that can be a challenge, right? I mean, it certainly can be a challenge and a unique dynamic. So trying to get everybody on board and pushing them in that direction and make it fun, right? Don't make it like this is work. This is, you got to do this thing, make it a good time, make it a good experience. But they're getting some good knowledge out of it. That was just my little side note there, man.
No, what you said is so important about getting your family involved. And especially kids. I mean, what bonding experiences of going camping, learning how to do fire, and they'll never forget that. Mm-mm. And you practice doing even the Sawyer water filter. It's you got to kind of figure out how to do that. A life straw is kind of easy, but if you want to put water in your camel backpack, I mean, there's a way to do that, a right way and a wrong way. You want to do it the right way. But getting the kids involved, getting your family involved is vital. If you have to go all, I tell people, if you have to go all, rogue and kind of do it yourself and keep it under the, matter of fact, there's a good series Glenn Tate wrote. It's called 299 Days. It's 10 books. I mean, it's forever long. I remember painfully going through that. Great series though. But in the book, his wife was not for preparedness at all, hated it, thought it was terrible. But because he was kind of the main character in the book, he went ahead and did it. And then all of a sudden some, crap hit the fan situation happens. And in the end, he, to his wife, he was a hero. She's like, I can't believe you planned all this and you have all these skills. And someday that may be you, but another reason you want your kids and your wife is because if you're on a homestead or in any situation, imagine working out in your yard and you cut an artery. And all of a sudden they know not just basic first skills, but they know
stop the bleed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, stop the bleed. I mean, that's a free course. I mean, stop and how to put a tourniquet there. They could save your life. And so you want the best case circumstances, everyone around you has the same skills you have. That way you can work as a team and some people are better in other things. You let them do that and you do the other things, but community right now, your community is your family, or it could be just yourself in an apartment. And everyone's goal is to build community with other people, of like-minded people, so you can grow and learn together and not make dumb mistakes like I have in buying things that I shouldn't have bought. I bought night vision goggles, at least that was within the first year, which is absolutely stupid. I mean, it was dumb, but that's $1,800 or whatever it was, gone.
It's all good. Lessons learned, right? But no, this is great. So for folks that are listening, right, it's just one, don't be intimidated by it, right? There's a lot to learn, but you're going to get with the right folks. Join in a group. There's so many different resources out there. I know they mentioned Glenn Tate and Shelby. They do a podcast as well, which is great. PrepperNet, Prepping Academy. There's just so many different classes and training sessions that you go to. Your local gun range will have a lot of different training classes, situational awareness, self-defense, which is very good especially for females. It's phenomenal. How to handle a firearm, how to take care of it, how to field strip it and clean it and make sure it's working for you and functioning the way it should be. I mean, there's so many courses that are either free or minimal investment that can just get you going, and those reps build confidence, which gets you exposure to more stuff. So like your box that you're kind of operating in now, you'll get more exposure, and that box grows, and your awareness and your belief in yourself and your perspective is just gonna open up more and more.
Yep. And I would tell people, go join preppernet.net. That is our private social media site. So it's our little island. We're not connected to Facebook or Instagram. It's just us. Go join that. And if you have questions, I promise you, you'll be overwhelmed with answers. When you type a question is, hey, I'm thinking about buying this food, or I'm thinking about buying this knife, you'll have, just know that, opinions are like, well, I won't even go there, but you'll get so many answers from people, and people will genuinely want to help you.
Yeah. So. It's a way, right? It's not the way, right? I mean, Forrest has got perspectives and got a lot of experience, certainly a lot more than I have, but I've got some reps and I got a perspective. You'll find 10 other people that have different perspectives. Mm-hmm. Their way is not the only way. It's just a version of the way. And then you kind of, I think of it like Bruce Lee, right? Like Jeet Kune Do. You kind of pull what you need to. Mm-hmm. You pull what's useful for you, adapt to it, and then kind of reject what's just not going to work for you. So Forrest style might not be your style, might not be mine, etc. But there are folks that are going to give you a buffet of options to choose from if you just ask.
Absolutely. Anything else on your notes we need to cover?
No. This is great. I'll pray us out, and we'll break.
Okay.
All right. Father, thank you for this time. Thank you for this connection. Thank you for allowing us to just share wisdom, learn together, grow together, expand in your name. And please just keep giving us the strength and the wisdom to keep forging ahead. For those out there that are on the fence or maybe nervous or have anxiety about this stuff, please just help them overcome, help them see the benefits of being just more prepared in your household on a day-to-day basis. Thank you for everything that you do for us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I will say this too. Whoa. Are you okay? Earthquake over there?
Earthquake.
So if you want to connect with Uncle Buck and myself, go to preppernet.com. There you are then. Or you go to Prepping Academy and send us an email there. But send us your comments, your questions, and connect with us on preppernet.net. And we have, like I said, subscribe, and we're here to help. So send us your message. You okay over there now?
I think so. Everything's good. The earthquake passed.
Okay. See, he was prepared and ready. So we'll see you guys. Hey, we release these every Friday morning at 8 a.m. So I just don't go to work on Friday. Wait for our podcast and then go in late. That's probably my first recommendation. We'll see you guys. Y'all take care.
All right. Thanks all.
Thanks for listening to the Prepping Academy podcast. Preppers Unite at www.preppingacademy.com.